Hello, everybody, and welcome to our no longer bi-weekly Devstream. My name is Matt, and with me is Julian.
Hi.
Max? Max?
Miax. Yep.
And Mark. We have three people with one-syllable M names in the stream. I just want
That's how you
to
know
point
it's
that
going to
out.
be good.
How's everybody doing today? In the chat and in the panel here. What are we talking about today, Mark?
Yeah, we're talking about update 47. So this update was interesting. It started off with just two small pieces of content, and we eventually added in more things. But to sort of set expectations, this is very different from what we showed off on the last stream, which was our big update, which happens once or twice a year, right? So this update is not going to be anywhere near as big as the last update. This is more of a smaller update with some cool things thrown in. But a big theme here for this update is we wanted to go back and really improve upon some old features. There was a bunch of loose ends from some of the big updates in the past and things that we always want to go back and fix, and we never had the chance to. So this update is really before we head off with other big new features. We want to go back and address some of the feedback we got on some of the old features there, and also to just knock off those loose ends that have been at the back of our mind for like years in some cases. So I'm these things always start off as like, hey, this update is kind of cool, and then towards the end it's like, hey, it's kind of exciting, so yeah.
You say small update. I say a little less than small update.
Small to medium.
Small to medium.
All right. Do you guys, Max, Julian, do you have anything you want to say, or should we move into it?
I'm most excited for the very first thing we're going to be showing.
Me as well. Yeah,
it's
we definitely led.
Of all of the things, we're leading with the best, right? So
yeah, mind-blowing feature is about to be shown here.
I think you guys are wrong, but we'll.
New binoculars.
Binocular visual update.
Now, some people are going to question this decision, okay? Because they're like a pixel on the screen, but they're, there might just hold your horses.
Yes, there's a reason for that.
Spoiler.
I think the bigger thing that players are actually going to care about is the camera speed, right? So this is, again, going back, we obviously changed, we moved to a new camera in update 46, and we want to go back and address some of the feedback there. We've heard a lot of feedback about how the binoculars in particular, the snapback speed when you want the camera to return back to your character was too slow. So we spent a bunch of time in fine-tuning that and making sure that it's as responsive, if not more responsive than what it was before update 46. So
and the visual update was because one of the modelers had a day where he was blocked on something else, or he was waiting for a test on something else. So we were like, just update those ugly old yellow binoculars.
That was one of the first things we ever put in the game. It's as old as the rifle. Like, it's one of the first things we put in.
Yeah. So we got rid of the hideous old yellow shape that was the binoculars.
And our reference was like one of the developers just like took a picture of their binoculars and held it up, and everybody was like, "Hey, we all have that same one."
Yeah.
Cool. So next epic, insane change that's coming. It's gonna blow your mind, guys. Okay,
yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Warden default pistol. How about that? Huh?
The ATI Model 2. We finally have faction specific. The faction specific weapons are pretty much all there now, I think.
Yeah, and this is another thing.
Not shotguns. On a faction specific shotgun. Yeah.
Oh damn!
Yeah, what's up with the shotgun?
We still
still
have that Walking Dead shotgun.
Ball on it. We dropped the ball on the shotguns.
Yeah, so there is a reason though why some of these like smaller models are actually going to matter a bit more now, and But before we get into that, I never know quite the ordering of these slides.
Even though
You make it.
Even though I make them, right? Before we get into that, there's some changes coming to prototypes. So this does affect how the tech tree works in a way. But the major goal was we really want to encourage more use of prototypes because prototypes was an idea that we tried out and it didn't really work out that well, and we really wanted to take a second go at it. So a couple of changes off the bat. Prototypes are going to be much more easy to make. So you're not so much having to go out there and try to grind really hard to produce a prototype. It's sort of, if you have the resources, the iron, your tech mats, you're basically going to get a free prototypes, and you can repair them now. And to balance it out, their armor is going to be a bit weaker, and their health is already a bit weaker. But outside of that, they're pretty close to the actual vehicle itself, right? So it's pretty much like once you get a prototype kit, you can have a tank or like an armored car in your hands there. And not only that, but you can have it basically before anyone else can mass produce it. And the other thing that we want to do was really encourage players to freely spend their materials instead of trying to save them. So a separate resource is going to be used which is copper. It's going to be used for the later side of the tech tree with things like tanks, so that if you're starting out and you want to make that armored car or some other early vehicle, you can feel free to spend those and make your prototype and not worry that you're missing out on something there. And that's kind of it for the prototypes.
And that's the update.
Thanks for coming out to our dev stream. We'll see you guys in another few months.
No questions.
So now to go back to that point that I had earlier about what I think. Watch there be something else.
But wait, there's more.
There is something else. Okay, the cinematic camera. So this year was we had made the tactical camera in the last update, and while we were, a lot of times when we're preparing for these streams, we always have to modify the camera ourselves to sort of take some cool footage that we can use to show off some new feature or content. And we said, hey, why not give a tool to the player? So after working on the tactical camera, we decided to work on the cinematic camera, which is the opposite. So tactical camera is to improve gameplay. Cinematic camera is to opposite of that. It's not used for any gameplay.
It's to make gameplay worse.
The gameplay is actually kind of worse if you're in it, but it's better for the community content, right? The community creates amazing videos, amazing screenshots. We know that we're able to make some things look cool when we kind of modify the camera in a custom way. So we want to give that tool to the player so players can kind of make better screenshots on their own. And we're really excited to see what you guys can do with this camera. It is the first version, so it is quite simple. And to be clear, you're not able to the actions you can perform are quite limited in this camera. But I'm going to actually switch over to a video to show what this can do here. And so.
I want to reiterate while he's loading that this is not for gameplay. If you're fighting using this camera, it's probably not going to be very useful to you.
You can't
entirely.
You can't even shoot.
Yeah.
Well,
as soon as you go into the cinematic camera, you can't shoot. So
it's if you aim, doesn't it snap you out of the cinematic camera?
Yes.
Yeah. But you can use the cinematic camera in the middle of a gunfight and just film stuff and be cool. You can zoom in real close and watch yourself get shot.
You can get shot.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to point out is there's a lot of detail that the art team has put into models over the years, especially on things like the vehicles. Like if you look at this vehicle itself here, you can see all the controls and knobs in this vehicle here, and a lot of this stuff is just missing. Like we'll often joke when someone posts a render or a screenshot on our internal Discord, and it would be like, everyone is going to notice all that detail, and they won't because the camera zooms so far out. So now you'll finally be able to go back and appreciate details that you might not have seen for the last couple of years, even on some of the older content, which still really shines once you put it through the lens of this new camera.
So if you already like making that kind of content, now you have an official tool to help you out.
One of those hidden benefits that came up a lot while we were working on other stuff was this also really helps with finding bugs, and being able to document it. Like somebody would be like, "Oh, there's a problem with the animation with this particular animation." Somebody will use the cinematic camera to zoom all the way in and then take a video of the animation so you can actually see it. Whereas in the past, it was we'd have to squint our eyes.
So what you're saying is we're gonna have to go back and redo a bunch of animations, Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
You just made everyone's life harder, Max.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Max.
And the snow looks great.
Candles burning during a snowstorm, literally unplayable.
But now you
All
can
right.
really see Callahan's boots. So
I see what you did there.
mhm.
All right, next thing up, No Man's Land revisited. So, Max, you want to take this one on?
Yeah, so I was really excited about this one. A couple of things you guys have mentioned over the past year or so since it's been implemented was, for example, the craters. They could not be filled in before, so they can be filled in now, which is really nice. The compromise that we made on this though is that there will now be more craters that spawn. We also tweaked the values so that the craters spawn closer together. So hopefully it doesn't look so much like a checkerboard of craters being spawned. And we hope that'll just make more dynamic battlefields by itself. After that, we also varied up the landscape textures because I think something that bothered all of us was that, when a battle has been going on for a long time, the textures tend to start to look the same, and it just becomes like a big matte brown that we really wanted to address. So we varied it up a little bit more, but we're being careful with it. So we'll have to see how it sort of handles on a wider scale. And then the big update, which was the dynamic trench husks. So the trench husks were a quick asset that was done in haste the first time around. So we finally came around to fixing them up, and now you can actually walk inside them. So in the past, where you used to sort of hover in the air above them, now you'll be able to walk around inside, and we have some videos to show about that. But it's important to note that we didn't change any of the decay values or anything, or any of the health values or any of that. It's all the same as it always was, so your builders can relax.
It's just a better representation of trench that's collapsed instead of floating in the middle of the air.
Yeah, you can walk through the destroyed trenches now, and they provide some cover. So as you guys are fighting through those trench lines now, it won't just be like, oh, the trench explodes and now it's suddenly just not there. Now you'll be able to continue to fight through these destroyed trenches. There's undulating terrain, so you can sort of get some height and some cover. You can go prone in there. You can still use the destroyed trenches for cover, so hopefully you'll have some cover against tanks. We hope.
And
So,
Mark, I was just gonna say you like to have everything in the rain, so.
Well, I thought we have the new cinematic camera. Might as well show it off as much as we can in this stream, right? So there's going to be more of that. And yes, I do like the rain.
Yeah, here's the old and new on the same trench line.
It's actually a bit hard to see, but if you've played the game, you'll know that the old husks, you're sort of walking on top of air. So this is going to be a lot more tactile now.
I got so used to that I didn't even see it anymore. So when Max and Leon were working on this, I was kind of like, do we need to? But seeing it now, it looks way better.
Cool. On to the next thing here. let's talk about tripods. So tripods we introduced quite a long time ago. We didn't have as much content as we want to, so we're coming back to address that. But we're also addressing a big feedback that we've heard very loud and clear over and over again, which is that the UI for it sucks. So now tripods have a new user interface, and one of the biggest changes here is that players can now, they will no longer press E to accidentally pack up a tripod weapon. Now there's a dedicated UI and there's an action button where you can do that. And Max, you want to talk about the ammo a bit?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, the big change that we know everybody has been asking for is that press E to dismantle thing. Everybody makes the mistake of walking up to a tripod and pressing E to dismantle. But the big change that we really wanted to address here is the tripods were, in the past, they tended to be operated by a single user. We noticed a lot of players were even bringing their own tripod, then running back and bringing the weapon forward. And we feel like a big part of that reason was because you had to have the ammo in your inventory in order to use it. So even if you set up the weapon, you wouldn't. And like if you set up the weapon and then died, then the next guy who wanted to come around and use it would have to rifle through all the bodies and then try to find your ammo, and so that they could use it. And then it was this whole thing about, like that's my tripod, and it was just a complete mess. What we want tripods to be is more of a communal weapon. Somebody sets them up, and then multiple people can use them. So we gave them an inventory that you can place the ammo in. So there might be soldiers, we hope, that will move around and set these positions up, and then again, you can dismantle them more deliberately so that somebody doesn't accidentally come along and take it down.
How come we're putting rockets into a tripod ammunition?
Well, you can talk about that now, Julian.
So we have some old, as in we showed them off once and never added them, like the machine gun. We have some new weapons to show off. The first one being the Colonial Heavy Machine Gun. It's exactly what you think it is, a heavy machine gun. It has a giant ammo drum, or ammo capacity on it, and you can literally fire this thing for like a minute or 2 minutes or somewhere around there, which is great. But the Wardens also need something, and if you can switch to the next one, they are also getting their own heavy machine gun, which they're like the stat differences between the two different machine guns, the two different light machine guns and medium machine guns, this will be similar. They will have different stats on them, different damage and ammo and rate of fire. But both factions will finally be getting their tripod heavy machine gun.
Cool.
Yep. And in addition to that, the Colonials are also getting their anti-tank rifle, which will be a tripod-mounted anti-tank rifle that it has a higher rate of fire. And I'm not sure about the range difference, if there is one, but regardless, they finally have one. It sounds great when you're playing with it in game, but we now have a rocket launcher, a very unique rocket launcher for the Wardens. That it's pretty obvious what it does. It's got 2 barrels on it. You can reload it twice. You can load up to 2 rockets into it and fire them in succession. And yeah, it's pretty unique and pretty damn cool.
So I'm seeing a lot of word and bias calls in the chat, and it's obvious from my shirt that this is why we added this weapon in, because totally Warren and bias. Sorry, Julian, did you have anything else?
No. I was gonna ramble on with there's another surprise about tripods that is no one is gonna expect that we're about to show off.
Yeah. So to talk about that first, there's 2 things that people have asked for, not necessarily for half tracks, but one is they've asked us for some kind of a modular system for vehicles when we announced the arms race update. And the second thing is they've asked for an infantry carrier type of feature for the half track. So excited to say that we're actually adding both at the same time in this update for both factions, right? So half tracks, each faction is going to get a modular half track, and you can attach on the field any tripod weapon. So essentially, you get like 3 different half track variations. If you include the other faction, each faction gets 6. And at the same time, Julian, you want to talk about the seats?
Oh yeah, the seats. This is funny. There was a community post where you guys mocked up this exact like 4-seat back half track, but we'd already been working on this for like a month or 2 before that, and I was very entertained that you guys were going to assume we took your suggestion, but we had decided to make the half track effective. Sorry, this will replace the default machine gun half tracks, and we decided to go ahead with making them a tripod mount when we knew we were finally going to be adding the heavy machine guns into the game. This particular, like these half tracks, I was super excited to work on them and to get like to pitch the idea. And I think Mark had the idea for the tripod mount on it.
Actually, let me correct your story a bit, because I think it was you, Julian. This was your idea originally. You pitched this to me.
It's been a while.
Yep.
I don't know how many months ago was it.
This was totally your idea, and you're like, hey, I know this is crazy, and I know I'm scope creeping here, and we had a lot of work to do, but I think this would be such an amazing feature for the half tracks. And then I think we talked to Max, and then we were like, oh, okay, I guess this is a lot of work, but yeah.
It's worth noting that if you're a warden and you find a colonial tripod.
Sorry,
oh yeah.
Jude, I'm gonna pause for a second. I'm actually gonna start the video
Oh,
so
yeah,
that we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
take up as much
Yep,
time, but
yep.
you can keep talking. I'm just gonna change the thing out
Yeah,
from
we
underneath.
have video of all of the guns and the half tracks and stuff. Although I know we had video of the machine gun a while ago, and we figure you guys are a bit concerned that the machine guns still won't end up in the game, but they will. They're here. So if you have say you're a warden, you have a warden half track, and you come across a colonial tripod gun, you can steal it and put it on your own warden half track, and vice versa. So they're all like, it's all universal. Whatever can go on the tripod can go on either of the half tracks.
And I think that now that this system is in place, there's a lot of exciting potential applications in the future of Foxhole for where else we can put mounts for tripod.
I love how useful the cinematic camera is for taking these videos.
Oh yeah.
So it's funny, Max, because I used to have to make custom changes in the code just to make this work. And now it's just there, right? It's great.
Yeah, forget all the new assets we're showing off. This is all about the camera, right?
Yeah, we also so the original half tracks that had the MGs on them no longer exist, by the way. So they've been replaced by these models.
And the 2 unique half tracks, the anti-tank and mortar half tracks, they're staying the same. So they're going to be exactly the same as they are now. The altered gun will be the trade-off for the seats in the back, and but you have these now, so they're friggin' awesome. Oh, there's 2 colonial half tracks. There's the armored and the unarmored version, which is this one, and both of them have this tripod attachment, so you don't have to worry about that.
It's funny, out of all of these changes, this was the part that blew my mind the most, was like placing it on the half track.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm like, I just see potential with that. There's so many things we could do with that. Not that we would, just saying.
So you can swap them out anytime that you want. So you can just change it out on the field. If you have a half track and you have a different, I think that's the coolest thing, is that you can bring a half track up to the front, and depending on what's in the stockpile, you can like literally change your vehicle on the fly, which is really cool to me.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, that they're swappable at any point. Yeah.
Chat wants to know about listening kit half tracks.
Yeah, so that does not work, right? So
I actually hadn't even thought about that yet, but that's hilarious. That does open the opportunity, though, to make it custom. Like, radar equipment for half tracks in the future, if we ever want to.
So we're leading up to the final feature, and this is something really exciting. We really wanted to go back. I'm actually just gonna pause this video here in a moment so we can
Pause it
talk
now.
about a little history of it. Is that we one of the roles we really wanted to push into. Obviously, Foxhole is a war game about different all aspects of war. Like players are responsible for driving everything, not just combat, but the logistics, the mining. The combat engineer role is one that we really wanted to push into in the past, but you know, you can say all the building stuff is kind of like that, but there was certain very iconic things that the combat engineers in World War II were doing, and we wanted to try to fulfill one of those iconic fantasies and have it in Foxhole. And we also, at the same time, wanted to continue to go back and have more use for the large metal items in the game. So to that extent, we are adding in a pretty cool feature. This one, I think, field bridges.
Literally
Tiny
nobody in
feature.
chat guessed it while you were talking about it. Not one person.
So yeah, I almost don't know what to say except
Yeah, this will speak for itself, honestly, in a lot of
this
ways.
is a really cool feature, and it was actually very difficult to do. A lot of the engineering team had to work very hard, and the QA team to make this feature happen. But it was just one of those things that we kept seeing over and over in all the World War II references. Like you see engineers making bridges, right? So we wanted this to fulfill many different roles or cases. So one case is you can build over a destroyed bridge. Another case here is that you can build over rivers.
A small change to the gameplay overall.
Yeah, this is small. No big deal, guys.
Yeah,
Small
no
update.
big deal.
And it will be, because it's the large items, you can build them pretty quickly with multiple players. I just did not have a second player at the time we were making this video.
Also, we should probably say, are the costs like locked in, or is that still in flux?
Everything on streams usually is a balance in progress, right? So feedback from the dev branch obviously can change things, but this feature we hope will help in changing up the battlefield a bit, changing up some of the stalemates you see at the bridges, and just, you know, Foxhole's ultimately a sandbox game, and we want players to be able to do as many different things as they can.
And we're oh, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say, there's a lot of people worried about like blocking rivers and stuff like that. I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah,
We thought about it. Like Mark said, this one went through like multiple passes between the programmers, the artists, the QA. Hopefully we've addressed all the problems, but you guys will obviously get a chance to deal with it in dev branch and let us know what we missed.
You guys are gonna see the flexibility and lack of flexibility as well in the rest of this video.
Yeah, so ships can ram the bridges, so you can't block a water logi route with it. And there's limitations on how long you can build a bridge.
Yeah, you might say they're kind of fragile.
Yeah.
And look, a motorcycle can go across.
So light vehicles can go over bridges. Tanks can't.
They can try. They can try.
Oh no!
How about armored cars?
Dun, 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 dun.
We're training for future vehicles.
You have to sneak that one in.
Yeah.
So the armored cars are one of the important things to note is that armored cars is the only armored vehicle that can go over the field bridges. So armored cars have always, their role has it's sort of limited, especially once you get into the mid war, when you start getting half tracks and the tanks. So one of the ways that we want to increase the role of the armored cars is to make it the only armored vehicle that can cross the field bridges here. The field artillery is also capable, but anything heavier than that is not able to cross the field bridge. And there's a lot of little edge cases and things that we have to think about, and you guys are going to probably think about more of them in the dev branch. But we really feel that this flexible tool is an important part of the future of the game. And as Julian hinted to, there will be other applications that are coming.
That wasn't a hint. I was just talking genuinely.
Cool. So, speaking of the armored cars,
but wait, there's more.
there's more. So there, speaking of the armored cars expanding their role, we are adding in 2 more armored cars. So let me just switch back.
Sorry,
here.
you did say field weapons can also go across the bridge, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So this one, Colonial has been asking for more early game anti-structure weapons. So this, Julian, did you want to talk through this one a bit?
It's exactly what it looks like. It's a RPG mounted. I was about to say scout car, armored car. The Gemini loads and fires 2 shots and has some extra armor. So, like everything that implies, that's what you get.
Cool.
Do you like big plates of metal?
And the Wardens are getting their new armored car is an anti-tank, the Piat armored car. So you'll have a mobile Piat launcher now. And again, it has some extra armor. It has a Piat launcher. It can shoot indirectly. And it's a badass looking little duck of a car.
Great. So we can move on now to the rest of the changes here that we will go through. There's a bunch of other changes. We're not going to linger too long. You can read about these more in the release notes, so we'll fire them off really quickly. All vehicles can now open and close the gates. Which I don't know why.
I've been asking for that for a while.
Yeah, it's a small one, right? And storage and supply depot notification. So the notification when logistics drops off a bunch of supplies at a base. So that's now applied to the storage depots as well, with the increased usage of storage depots in these intermediate regions. And players have also asked for this a whole bunch. That system is in place now as well. Great March, Max, do you want to?
Yeah, Great March was updated, but you guys should know that it won't feel any different. The main problem that we wanted to address was it was very slopey. The slopes were very gradual and very hard to see, and so we just fixed it so that the slopes are a little bit more defined, so that you guys will know more clearly where you can and cannot build. But other than that, the map should feel somewhat unchanged.
I think there was a couple road rerouting to avoid some issues as well. And some general touching up. Is that correct?
Yep, yeah. Correct. There's the main highway that used to go into the weird corner of the map, which was a weird partisan spot to hit. Now it goes directly to Blemish through Heartlands. So you'll see a small road change in Heartlands too.
Fire pits can now be built on bridges, so don't no longer have to have your be freezing in the middle of a bridge. So this is when we added in the large materials. A lot of people were asking, "Oh, do you need them for the barbed wire and the sandbag mods?" And this isn't really addressing a gameplay issue. It's just more like a consistency thing. We always want Foxhole to feel like a tactile game, and what you see is what you get. So if there's if there's barbed wire, you should be using the barbed wire material. If there's sandbags, you should be using the sandbag material. So that's just a small change there. We try to unify things a bit more. Economy scaling, this is another more like under the hood thing, is that the factory production speed, so this is just factories, not mass production factories, their production speeds now will scale for depending on how many players are playing in the war. So this is one of those things we've struggled with the past. In order to scale, we've had to add more factories, but now it just scales automatically. And there's more to it, to this economy scaling, than we're going to talk about here. But just as a whole in the game, because population can scale drastically depending on the shard, depending on the time of the year, and we're always struggling with the scaling problem. So we're we've added a lot of logic under the hood just to make sure that things are properly scaling. Everyone's having a smooth experience, regardless of whether the player population for that shard happens to be very large or small.
Yeah, the fill-in option no longer requires structures to be at full health. I know you guys have been asking that. So the foxholes and now the craters as well in the T1 trenches, they don't need to be repaired before you fill them in. This was a problem, a long-standing problem that people mentioned a long time ago. We finally, thanks to our brilliant QA people, they've figured out what was causing it. So mortar should be appropriately affected by wind now. So you can use your mortar half tracks and your mortar tanks and your mortar itself to hit targets accurately now. And I want to talk briefly about this. So I was talking to a lot of you guys over the last couple of weeks on Discord and on Reddit about the storm cannon being somewhat not an exciting meta, and we went back and forth about what ways we could address it. This isn't obviously going to be a fix-all, but it was the best change that we could think of. The storm cannons will now take 2 days to settle concrete. So once you start to build it, it will appear on the map, on the world map, just like the observation towers do. So our hope with this change is that you won't be able to attack with storm cannons anymore. It doesn't address the issue with the storm cannon race that a lot of you guys have complained about, but it will address, hopefully, that you can't just sneak storm cannons forward to blow up storm cannons. You will see the enemy storm cannons being built, and you'll have a full 2 days before they'll even be operable. So hopefully we'll see where that goes. We're certainly not closing the book on storm cannons yet. We're just going to take one small step forward.
Great. Player activity log. So this is an experimental feature, and this is to give players more tools to surface. Players have asked for more information on what players are doing, sort of going along the lines of the stockpile logs, just in general, surfacing more information for everyone. So now every player will have an activity log. It doesn't track exactly your action, but what it does do is it does track things you've been doing. So you can look at a player and be like, wow, this player has harvested like 30,000 mats or something in this war, or this player has gotten like X number of kills. And it's more just for going along that same theme, just being able to surface more information. Players have asked for more information on what's going on. This is here to get more information. I do want to stress it is an experimental feature, so this can change at any time drastically. So just try to keep that in mind. New player report tools. So this is a work in progress, but we have started to build out more of an in-game player report system where it will track players that you've met, make it easier to send in a player report. And the goal here is also to start giving players some more feedback on the reports that they send in. So one of the things we've heard a lot is, hey, I send a report, I don't really get a whole bunch of feedback back. Now, I'm not saying this is going to change overnight, but we are taking steps towards that. So over time, you will start to see more and more feedback about what might happen when you send in the report, right? So again, it's a work in progress, but we're taking steps forward there. We spent a lot of time in this update cycle on server optimizations. So it's really hard to talk about this without getting into all the little details, but the output of it is, again, every so often, we spend a bunch of time on this to continue to optimize the servers, to improve the latency and the performance. So just overall having a smoother experience, continuing to support the number of players that a game server can support, and hopefully trying to increase that count over time. And that's about it. We also tweaked a couple of character animations, but it's just a small thing. There's more changes that are going to be in the release notes, so this isn't the full picture. And we hope to be going into dev branch, but there is one last thing to talk about, right? Actually,
It's
keep
not.
saying that. Now that I look at it, there's a few more things to talk about, right?
How long is this? Jeez.
How small is this update? This is so
update.
small, Mark. We shouldn't even release it.
Yeah.
Max, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so just so you guys, so prefacing this, localization is not coming in this update. So that you guys a lot of you have been hoping for language translations. What we're doing is going to be doing a mix of crowdsourcing and paid translations. We're going to use a platform called Crowdin to allow our community members to sort of input the translations for our more nuanced items in the game, things like, vehicle names or descriptions, like when you read a tooltip on a weapon that says like increased chance to penetrate armor. We don't want to leave that sort of thing up to a localization company, because they're not going to understand the context of the game. So our solution to that was to use Crowdin, which is used by a lot of other indie titles for solving those issues. But we're going to pay for the first round of translation for all of the menu, the HUD, the UI, all the really basic stuff that's done in code, so that at least we're not starting from zero. But going back to that original point, the main takeaway here is this is not coming in update 47. We are just beginning to source localization, the localization and the translations for the game starting soon. I will be posting messages in the Discord looking for volunteers who might be interested. But as soon as we have the first round of translations done, I'll start going through and trying to find some people to give us a hand. And then hopefully by update 48, we should have at least a mostly translated game.
Cool. All right. I guess we are ready for one last point here.
We have a special guest joining us.
A special guest joining us.
Special guest, please join us.
Yes.
It's Matt's cat.
It's Sushi. Actually, I don't know where she is. Hello, special guest.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Please activate
Show
your
us your-
camera.
Activate your face.
Yeah, turn on your face.
Yes.
How's it going?
Good.
All right. So this is Alkas, for those that might not know. I am with the R2 team. R2 team, we have a small team inside the studio, and we've been working already at some server-side technology. Essentially, we're very, very happy with what we've been able to do with Foxhole. We started with 32 or 64 players, and we've been able to push it to 250 players these days, and we want to keep pushing that number. But we're really excited about really making massive battles, taking it to the next level. So for any new title that we want to work on, we want to start with a minimum of around 1,000 players on the same region. So that's what we've been working on with the R2 team. We've been working on some server-side technology to make that possible. We already ran some tests with the community. Thanks again to everyone that participated. This is the Red River demo that we did, and it was super exciting. It was incredible to see all these people. The server, for the most part, held up. A couple of crashes, but it was a good proof of concept. And we took that and we said, okay, let's build some gameplay on top of this. And that was the Anvil tech demo. We added building structures, resource gathering, that kind of stuff. And this is all running with the R2 engine, our custom server technology. So we're able to kind of get some idea like how that might work out. So for the next phase of the Anvil project, we're still naming it Anvil for now, but that's to be determined. But we want to kind of bring all the gameplay and the technology together and do a pre-alpha for a larger scale test, kind of like pursue it as a real game. So if you want to stay updated on the R2 engine and the Project Anvil, go to discord.r2engine.com. We'll be sure to post updates there. You don't need to do anything else. We had some Steam keys, everything before, but don't worry about those now. We'll post everything you need to do onto the Discord. So yeah, thanks for your time. That's we just want to give you guys a small update on that front.
Can you?
Yeah. So the big. Oh,
Sorry, I was just gonna say, could we get like just a 2-second explanation of what like Project Anvil is? Because there are people in the chat that don't even know what they're signing up for.
Yeah, so Project Anvil is kind of a medieval empire building game with kind of like Foxhole idea of a persistent war, where you have to worry about farming, resource gathering, making alliances, and it will be running on our new R2 engine that supports up to 1,000 people on the same server. And for the pre-alpha, I think I forgot to mention the pre-alpha. We want to run the first test this December, so make sure to sign up if you want to get more details on that front. Am I forgetting anything?
I
You
think
can
that's
be
it.
eaten by a wolf.
Yeah,
in
that's good. Yeah, they're
You
wolves.
can, if you want to experience the
If
attack
you
of a wolf.
if you like
How
Foxhole
to get eaten by a wolf.
and you like medieval stuff, and you like certain elements about Foxhole, like fictional world, blah 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 blah, Logi, this might be something to check out.
Yeah.
Great. So going back to here, Dev Branch again starts tomorrow, and we are going to do a Q&A thread for update 47 after the stream. Like, just give us half an hour to an hour. We'll get that thread up, and you can ask questions just like we did for the last update. And that's about it.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, that brings us to an end of our stream, everybody. Thank you so much. There's so much information on the stream. We got, all sorts of new features coming for Update 47, including field bridges, new tripod stuff, all sorts of little features. We've got Project Anvil pre-alpha starting soon. Head on over to Reddit for the Q&A. That's how we're going to be doing it from now on. Usually we do a live Q&A, but we're going to start changing things up as we move forward and as things in our company grow. I don't know if there's anything left to say. Does anybody have any final words?
The binoculars were the best part. That's
Cinematic
this
camera.
stream,
Yeah.
this stream didn't have a roadmap. I mean, that's like the first
oh
time
yeah,
in
we missed
ages.
the roadmap.
It's true. That means the roadmap is locked.
Yeah.
All right. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to catch us live on Twitch whenever we do Devstream. Usually we announce our Devstreams on Discord, so join the Discord, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. If you have questions, you can ask them in the comments of the YouTube video as well when that goes up. So thank you, everybody, for joining. And as always, stay foxy. Bye.